Hi everyone, thanks for joining today. My name is Calvin. I'm Cloud VDM at Bechtle, and this is Kyle, one of our senior Azure consultants. We put this session today for everyone, for people who are sort of looking to start their Azure journey or maybe optimize their existing cloud environment. We'll go through some of the best practices, best ways to deploy and master Azure, and break down the key sort of Microsoft frameworks such as the cloud adoption framework. One of the best ways I think would be to start with considering what are the key benefits and why would sort of someone consider using Azure.
Perfect. Well, Microsoft Azure is a globally scalable enterprise cloud with data centers all around the world. You can make yourself a lot more cost efficient with pay-as-you-go resources and resources on demand. You also have things like reserved instances and cost optimization built into Microsoft Azure that's completely secure and compliant with all built-in security practices and certifications aligned to it. There's seamless integration as well with Microsoft 365 Hybrid Cloud and Entra ID.
Awesome. I heard some of the best practices is going along with sort of Microsoft frameworks. So what is the cloud adoption framework and what does it entail?
Perfect. The cloud adoption framework is a collection of documentation, technical guidance, and best practices and tools that aid us in aligning businesses and organizations to cloud readiness and technology strategies. It also accelerates businesses meeting objectives and guides in the decision making when going to the cloud. The cloud adoption framework follows a defined lifestyle where you define a strategy, you plan your organization, you get ready for the Azure migration, you adopt with Azure Migrate, you then can innovate, govern, and manage your cloud. To define your strategy, you'll define and document your motives, meet with your key decision makers, stakeholders, and executives, and get at the motives behind why you would like to move towards the cloud. Document your business outcomes, you'll develop a business case, and then you'll choose your right first project. The first project is always a key crucial stake when adopting towards the cloud. Business motives can be a plethora of different areas, whether you're looking at whether you have business critical events like a data center exit, or you have, you're scaling to meet the market in terms of locations, or you're looking at just innovating and transforming your products. There are multiple different motives as to why you would move towards the cloud, and you'll just choose what aligns with your business. When you involve in your motives, you'd align it with all of your key stakeholders, whether you're looking at a migration trigger or an innovation trigger. Always make sure you have the best people involved and aligned with the project. You'll align meaningful KPIs with the business as well to ensure that stakeholders are aligned and that all business outcomes and drivers are met. Here's a business justification. You're using tools like total cost of ownership, Azure pricing calculators, and cost management tools can actually make use of financial benefits to see if it is beneficial to move towards Microsoft Azure. And of course, don't do it alone. The cloud adoption framework approaches the cloud as a self-adoption entity, but you have solution providers such as Bechtle that can get you aligned and into the cloud a lot easier. It will fast track your Azure program a lot quicker. And of course, when you get in aligned to Microsoft Azure, don't always buy into all the myths that the cloud is always cheaper, that everything should go to the cloud. You often hear mirroring my on-premise environment will help me save money. It's not always the case, and you have to make sure that you choose the right model and the right migration that suits you. When choosing your first project, your first adoption should always align with your business motives that you put down. And whenever possible, your first project should also demonstrate progress towards a defined business outcome. It will also help navigate your team and educate them in terms of delivering the project and highlighting all of the different success criteria that you have put down. When you develop the plan, you'll look at your digital stage. You'll initially organize your alignments, and you'll look at your skill readiness plan and your cloud adoption plan. Rationalize the estate. We look at the 5 R's of the rationalization. Would you look at rehosting, refactoring, re-architecting, rebuilding, or replacing? So a rehost is just a basic lift and shift of your environment where you pick up and move it as is from on-prem or from another cloud platform directly into Azure. Refactoring refers to the application development process of refactoring the application to develop and meet new business outcomes and criteria. Re-architecting, where aging applications are not compatible with the cloud, will need to be re-architected to produce a more operationally efficient model. If you have to completely rebuild unsupported or misaligned applications, you would have to do that in this place. And in some cases, you have to completely replace the complete application or software that you're aligned to, because it just doesn't meet the functionality that you do require out of the cloud. Your initial organizational alignment will always start with the adoption. Look at your MVP best practice, your central IT, your strategic alignment, your operational alignment, and your cloud center of excellence. So you start from the ground and you work your way up through the whole internal organization. Always identify your skills readiness, you'll capture concerns, identify any gaps, and partner across multiple different teams in terms of champions and education, and always make sure you're sharing it. When you have your cloud adoption plan ready, you set your prerequisites, you define and prioritize your workload, you align assets to workload, you review the rationalization and decisions, you establish iterations and release plans, and you'll establish timelines as well. You don't just want it running off. And once you're ready, you'll start with your Azure setup guide. You'll build your base Azure landing zone out. You'll expand that landing zone, and then you'll apply best practices to that landing zone. So the Azure setup guide will set you up with a management hierarchy to consistently apply access control. You'll set up things like role-based access control or user-based access control to make sure that all relevant permissions are set. Not everybody needs access to all of the resources. You'll identify the different subscriptions and billing accounts of how you want that internally to set. You'll enforce and automate certain policies, updates, any legal requirements, do we need to ring fence certain applications? We can apply all of those in the setup guide. We'll get visibility across resources and find and fix problems, optimize performance, and gain insight into all behavior inside the environment. And once we're done with all of that, we can do a proactive approach to actually change the different management styles there. When we look at deploying a landing zone, we have to understand that a landing zone is an output of a multi-subscription Azure environment that accounts for scale, security, governance, networking, and identity. It's basically just a modular approach of building out your environment based on a set design area and ensure that security is a key factor in all of that. Secure by design as a set starting point. Once you are ready, make sure that ready is 100% ready. If you don't align governance and management, you'll have large amounts of effort to try and fix security non-compliance standards. There'll be security breaches. There's a lack of operational efficiency. You can have billing shocks, performance and latency issues, no RBAC policy, or role-based access control policies. There'll be naming incomplexities. So instead of remediating from a later point, so make sure ready is ready from the word go, and you can align those best practices from the start.
That's great. So what would you suggest is the smoothest path for getting those workloads into Azure?
The smoothest part is Azure Migrate. It is a built-in tool with Microsoft Azure. So Azure Migrate, once you've done your plan, you've got it ready to adopt, will actually do an assessment of all of the workloads running within your environment. It will actually take a copy and deploy those workloads directly into Azure if you're doing a direct lift and shift, or if you're moving towards more platform as a service-based infrastructure. It can actually do the transition from your current state into that future state, and then it can actually do a test before it releases live into your environment. In a very, very simple terms there, if we look at your Migrate assessment, we look at number 1 point there, we download the configuration appliance onside your, whether it's a vCenter host or Hyper-V closed. We can look at multiple cloud platforms to actually run it across as well. We'll just look at that raw data. We'll start the discovery of that appliance. It will pull the raw data into Microsoft Azure, and it'll start that server discovery and that assessment. Once it's ready and we've created that assessment, we'll create the replication of those servers and that data into the cloud. And once we're ready for cutover, we can actually do a full cutover directly from that assessment into the predetermined VM SKU sizes, application sizes, and platforms that we are looking at doing. It will have a total cost of ownership built into it as well. So before you do any cut over into Microsoft Azure, you can have all of your costs present and presented and upfront to you. And what's nice is the migration is completely automated. There's no hands-on getting dirty. You can just click a few buttons and let it happen. Once you're inside Microsoft Azure, that's when the nice fun starts happening, and you can actually look at innovating and modernizing your environment. You can look at updating your data. You can engage with different power apps that are available within the Azure platform. You can empower adoption, automation. There's AI tools that are now integrated and built in, and you can interact with multiple different devices. Once you're inside the environment, the world's your oyster to play with. Always remember, once you're inside that environment, make sure it's being governed correctly. So you look at your cost management, your baseline security, your resource consistency, your identity baseline, and your deployment acceleration in terms of AI or automation templates. You have to make sure that this is governed from a top layer to ensure that there's consistency throughout the platform. When it comes to managing the environment, it's absolutely critical that all business segments are aligned with this. They can have a massive impact across the whole business. So you would always ensure your inventory and visibility, operational compliance, your disaster recovery, instances are all set and provided for. You need to make sure that all of the compliance and policy procedures are aligned with your company's governance and compliance. And you'll look at the platform operations and the workload operations to ensure that they are meeting the predetermined criteria.
And that's Azure Migrate. So is there any other tools that would be able to help with migration?
Yes, definitely. There's a whole platform of tools that Microsoft have available directly online. The link there is in the bottom, but whether you look at defining your strategy, planning, getting ready, adopting, managing, or governing your environment, there are multiple different practices that are available through Microsoft and follows the best practice framework. As mentioned, it is a cloud platform where you're self-evaluating assessment to start with in terms of your defining a strategy and planning. And then once you're ready with that, that's when partners like Bechtle come inside. Once you're ready to set up the Azure environment to help you with the adoption, the management, the governance, you can also make sure that every part of that aspect is aligned as per best practice.
So what would you say were some of the key benefits of the Azure services that promote a migration to Azure?
Some of the nice ways of extending and getting into Microsoft Azure as a starting focal point, there's hybrid solutions, so Azure Local or ACI Stack as a service, which can actually extend your on-premise workloads into Azure, so you can keep them in like for like, and you can use failover and recovery of those services to failover into Microsoft Azure should any business complexity happen or any outages occur. You can leverage Azure Arc through those to extend license warranties. You can also have containerized services like Azure Kubernetes running inside the Azure Local, and it will connect, in your Azure environment, and it will connect via Azure Local. It's a unified management process as well, so you have a single pane of glass to manage the entire process, and you can maintain and baseline security and compliance across the entire environment. You also have things like Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop takes away the complexity of having to deploy multiple different session hosts and connection brokers, etc. with traditional remote desktop environments. Everyone knows the complexity of building out those traditional remote desktop farms. The nice thing about the Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop, you'll deploy a couple of session hosts, you'll align your users to it with the relevant RBAC policies, and they will automatically handle all of those load balancing, the connection brokers, the authentication, the security policies, etc. So it's all managed from that single pane of glass and takes all of that away. And it's also a managed service that we can offer as well through Bechtle. Once again, to reiterate on that, it will enable your hybrid workforces, the virtual desktop, or lower your infrastructure costs of not having to deploy those multiple session hosts, those multiple brokers. All of that is really built in internally at Microsoft. So you can leverage off of that, and it simplifies the management of only managing a couple of session hosts instead of an entire farm.
So as Azure can be quite vast, not all of it can be managed and sort of handled by cloud partners. So what is the best path to sort of maybe master Azure yourself as well?
So you can look at doing multiple different certifications. You have things like the AZ900, which is an Azure Fundamentals plan to get a baseline level understanding of Microsoft Azure. You have the A104 if you're using Microsoft Azure and you want to understand the more administrative processes that happen. Or you get an AZ5, which is a full architect program. You can also stay up to date with Microsoft Learn. You get various different Azure blogs. There's the Ignite conference that happens every year. You can get free hands-on labs and environments that you can play around with inside Microsoft Azure. There's multiple forums. There's GitHub repositories if you want to play around with code and infrastructure code templates. But most importantly, if you have a trusted partner like Bechtle, leverage off of your MSP and consultants. We'll take the load off of your hands and be able to guide you through the whole process. Some of the key focal areas I would say to understand in Microsoft Azure is always understand your core services, your compute, your storage, your network, 100% your security built into that as well. Understand how your costs are broken down. Microsoft Azure has a very good cost optimization and cost management platform built into it, so you can manage your costs effectively, leveraging your automation if you are deploying multiple different instances or growing your environment out rapidly. You have things like ARM templates and bicep templates, which are infrastructure code templates where you can just deploy multiple different servers from the click of a button once you get those blueprints out. But most importantly, please ensure you enhance your security. Adopt the zero trust model and make sure it's all completely tightened up.
Good idea to sort of go through how Bechtle can support on your cloud journey. So we can offer free migration assessments, so we can see what's going to be the best path, what's going to be the best options for migration to Azure. These are free of charge. There'll be no cost to yourself, and there'll be no sort of locking you in. You wouldn't have to go ahead with it, but it's a good way to sort of start, see where you're currently at. Partnering with Bechtle for Azure as well, you have direct access to our Azure consultants like Kyle. So it can be used as a sounding board to bounce ideas off. That can also be used to help in these sort of migrations and sort of any projects you have around Azure as well. We also have access to Microsoft funding. Obviously, there would be some qualifying areas for this, but as there would be a lot of professional services, could be a lot of professional services involved in a migration, this sort of helps ease some of that cost or completely the cost, depending on the situation. We also offer health checks and optimization reports. One of the key things once you're in Azure is to sort of keep it maintained, keep it optimized, whether that's cost, security, architecture, all merges together. We can support with that. We have free health checks we can offer. We also have more in-depth sort of reviews and assessments on your environment as well. These are FinOps, DevOps, as well as our well-architected review and secure by design review.
What's nice about those, to jump in there, Calvin, even if you have an environment that's not managed by Bechtle, as long as we get given the relevant access for our tools to run, we can do FinOps, SecOps, the well-architected reviews, and the secure by design consultancy points on any Azure environment and multi-cloud environments now as well. So it is available and it doesn't have to be managed by Bechtle, but we can do that audit as well.
Yeah, and we can also take on the management. So if you wanted as much hands-off as you could get, we can take that on for you. And at this point, we'd like to open up to any questions. If you had any sort of considerations, if you're just starting your journey, if there's anything you've sort of considered, any blockers, or if you've already got a cloud environment, if you have any sort of optimization queries or anything that you're struggling with at the moment, then we're here for questions.
Is there a tool that can help calculate the cost of running our system in Azure? Yes, definitely. So when you run the Microsoft assessment, you can actually get a total cost of ownership from the Microsoft assessment tool. If you don't want to run that assessment tool to start, you do have the Microsoft Azure pricing calculator, where you can build out different segments of your environment from the Microsoft Azure pricing calculator. If you do want a rough estimation of what that ownership or that monthly service fee would be, you can always reach out to myself directly after this, and I can actually do an assessment for you and a proposal based off of that and show your monthly costs. I have my AZ900 cert, Brian. I'm looking to do the AZ104 next. Would you recommend any particular learning resources for this? Yes, definitely. There's obviously all the Microsoft Learn facilities available for the 104. When I actually did it myself, I used Pluralsight as one of my main areas for study and learn. It does tutorial-based access as well as all of the different white papers. And if you want to practice any exams, you can get multiple different 104 exam papers off of a site called Exam Topics. And I did use all of those as well when I did that. It was definitely very beneficial.
If no one has any more questions or thinks of something later, can reach out to us separately after this. It's no problem. We'll have our contact details. We can send them out. So if you have anything as you go, as you're getting into things, any questions, any sort of guidance you need, then we're here to reach out to.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for joining, everyone.